Welcome to the Comic Zone. As many of you have heard, Peter Parker is effectively dead, and a new Spider-Man is emerging. Our opinions on that aside, I figured let's do a little story reflecting back on the awesomeness that was Peter Parker, Spider-Man. With that said, we're all going to be doing a list. Joining me for this, the Wrestling Xpound CEO, James Phoenix.
We're not the Wrestling Xpound anymore. We're just the Xpound now.
Really? What does the YouTube channel say?
YouTube channels cannot be changed. I can't help that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
YouTube are dicks about that. I'm sorry.
okay. Let me just go back. Rewind.
Rewind.
Joining me is the X-Pound's diva, James Phoenix.
Fuck you all.
You have done that
look,
yourself.
but you can't touch.
You have done that yourself.
You look so good to me.
And joining him, the COO of X-Pound, the one, the only, the affably adorable creature himself, Marcus Shuttle.
Fuck you, Mole.
That's not your catchphrase. Well, kind of.
It is now.
And joining him is his beautiful and lovely assistant, the stay-at-home dad gamer, Rick the Hammer.
Hello.
So let's start off with obviously number 5. We'll go from 5 to 1.
I just want to know. Maybe I missed it, but did you want to identify what this list is of?
Yes, it's of the best Spider-Man stories. As I said at the beginning when I mentioned best moments of Spider-Man.
Okay, I didn't hear you mention. I want to make sure the audience knew. Sorry.
It's cool. So let's go with number 5, and let's start off with James Phoenix. You can go first.
Okay. Now, I will just identify for the benefit of the audience that these storylines will be a mixture of both storylines from the comics, as well as for the benefit of people like me that aren't big comic readers, storylines from the video games and the animated TV series as well, plus the live-action movies.
Oh, that's weird.
What?
It's gone dark in here. It's almost like someone stole my spotlight.
Oh!
I'm kidding. Continue.
That was good. That was good. I like
from
that.
the spotlight.
Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, just for the benefit. So, I'm not a comic reader, so the first one on my list is Spider-Man 2, the second Tobey Maguire movie. And honestly, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of Spider-Man material outside of the live-action movies and the cartoon series, but I really did like Spider-Man 2. I felt it was better than Spider-Man 1, because while Spider-Man 1 definitely had a good established storyline, I felt that when Spider-Man 2 came around, they kind of had gotten their footing on the franchise. They knew where they were going. They cast Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, who did a great job in that role. I love Alfred Molina. He's also great in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, even though that movie is not necessarily the best. He's very good in that movie. And I understand the technical thing. Yeah, that was kind of a Goblin ripoff, but either way, I think the second movie was really good. It had I think he was a much more effective villain than the Goblin. I think. He didn't look like a Power Ranger for one thing. As much as we like the Power Rangers here at the X Pound, Green Goblin's not one of them. And I just thought the second movie had a really great plot line where it was sort of a mentor of Peter who was kind of flipping around and turning into an enemy that he had to defeat. And that's similar to what they adapted for the more recent movie, which I'll talk about later. But I just really liked the way Alfred Molina portrayed the character and the way Peter had to try to save his mentor from himself to a point, while at the same time coming to terms with the fact that Mary Jane was going to have to know who he was. He was going to have to tell Mary Jane that he was Spider-Man, because she was basically getting kidnapped and in danger just by him being associated with Spider-Man. So she might as well know that he's freaking Spider-Man. So I really like Spider-Man 2. Also, the game of that same movie, which is the same storyline, also very good. I enjoyed playing through that as well. It was definitely better than the first one, primarily because, to my knowledge, first Spider-Man game on a system of that generation, the PS2 generation, where you could actually go to the street level or back up swinging to the rooftops by choice, rather than, if you leave the roof, you're falling into endless smoke. So I like that too. I'm good. Go ahead.
I'm cool. And now I'll go over to Rick the Hammer.
Okay, now also, real quick, these can be storylines that just have Spider-Man in them, so people don't flame me too bad. Um, but for
They can
my number
be.
5,
They can be
Uh,
stories that have Spider-Man in them as long as it's not got the title New Day in it.
Oh.
as long as it's not Spider-Man's daughter or whatever it was.
Or it's not superior.
Yeah, no. I was the one that was talking to Old Man Logan with Spider-Man's granddaughter in it, and then she freaking murders the Kingpin.
But yes, continue. Tour.
So basically, I chose the Infinity War that went on many years ago. Had Spider-Man in there; he helped out more so than Surfer.
Ooh.
But I really like that storyline. How it, I liked that it involved so many characters, which I feel Maximum Carnage didn't do as well. And it introduced me to a lot more because I didn't read a whole lot of different comics back then. But it was nice to be able to see all these, I'm just going to say lower tier Marvel characters. And it, just kind of introduced them to a lot of other people that might not necessarily see it. And, Spider-Man wasn't too big, but I really liked the Infinity War. I thought it was really cool. So that was my number 5.
And that was a good story. And now, Marcus Shadow.
I went with the story for Shattered Dimensions, the video game. The game notwithstanding, the story I thought was actually pretty good. It was a pretty interesting concept to bring all the various versions of Spider-Man together, have them work together and whatnot. So, yeah, it was pretty cool in my book.
I like that story too. I also liked seeing the villains that weren't actually from their respective universes be created for those universes.
I also like that they got the voice actors of the various Spider-Men to come back. I thought that was a nice
Yes.
Yeah, I like that too. So that leaves me.
Yes.
My number 5, a classic from the comics, The Death of Jean DeWolf. The reason I like this, basically, Peter Parker, he hunts down and looks for the person that kills one of his best friends, Captain Jean DeWolf. Basically, the person who's the villain in this story, he's not actually, he doesn't have fucking sand powers, he doesn't manipulate magic, he's just a guy with a shotgun. And no, he's not the one that shot rabbits. But no, I had to throw that out there. But yeah, basically,
Is he the one that shot JR?
No, but basically, it's just a normal guy with a gun that's just completely batshit insane. Also, when the murderer then goes to kill someone close to Daredevil, both of them end up pairing up, and you get a sense that Daredevil's not trusting Spider-Man. And the reason is, it's kind of planting the seeds for the black suit storyline, which will happen later, because he's wearing it at the time and stuff. Basically, we're seeing Spider-Man get really fucking pissed off, really aggressive. He doesn't want to just find this guy who shot him and have him arrested. He wants to fucking kill this guy. We see him just hunting down. We don't really see Spider-Man do that. We see Spider-Man react to, oh God, look, the sand's pouring through the window. Oh God, manipulations. We don't see him saying, okay, this guy just shot someone dead. I want him dead. That's kind of cool. It's different. It's interesting. That was my number 5.
Very good.
Now, number 4, take it away, Rick the Hammer.
All right, my number 4 was a one-off comic called When Cometh the Commuter. And why I think it was pretty cool was it was a story where Spider-Man he was trying to bust a, low-level crook guy, but he followed him to the suburbs. And it's just kind of funny to see Spider-Man have to operate where he can't swing because there's no buildings. So he tries swinging from a tree and that doesn't work. And eventually he's like getting on the bus and stuff. Like it's just, it's just funny to see Spider-Man taken out of his element and have to cope with it. And it was more of a lighthearted one, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Can I just ask, where in that suit does he carry bus fare?
He doesn't have to carry bus fare. He just walks. He goes, "I'm Spider-Man."
He just jumps on top of it. They don't know.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
And now, for number 4, take it away, Marcus Shadow.
All right, my number 4 is the Amazing Spider-Man movie that came out last year. It's a really great retelling of Spider-Man's origin story. They took all the characters and they modernized them, but they kept the essences of the character. That part of that isn't due to the actors and actresses, but a lot of it is due to the writing. I thought the writing was exceptionally good in that movie, and so therefore the story came out really, really well. I really enjoyed the story of that movie.
I will say, if you ever go to review that movie, I will join you.
No, thank you.
Hopefully you do that in the future.
Hopefully I will.
So now, L. James.
Thank you. For my number 4, this is primarily a common one. I went with the first Spider-Man PlayStation 1 video game. Primarily because the storyline was one of those storylines where the game came out around the time the 90s cartoon was on, so it had a very heavy basis in that. And it was one of those things where the plotline is so incredibly stupid that it's hilarious and awesome. And basically, if you don't know, the plotline is basically, it starts out with Spider-Man's beating up some random bad guys, and then it turns into a combination of plots. First, he has to chase down Venom, who has kidnapped Mary Jane and has her tied up in the sewers. And then you find out that actually the ulterior plan is that Doc Ock has teamed up with Carnage to infest the city with symbiotes. And while that seems like a pretty, weird out plot, it's actually really fun because, you get to beat up symbiotes, you fight a wide variety of Spidey's, villains throughout the course of the storyline. There's a what do they call that thing? Monster Ock, where Carnage fuses with the Ock, which looks really weird, but it's still kind of awesome to think about.
Fun fact with that.
Yes.
Monster Arc was so good and so popular over here when they started to do a UK magazine for kids of Spider-Man. They actually included a Monster Arc story for a comic, that was kind of cool.
Oh, nice. I always thought that was cool. And just a lot of not just the plot itself, but in terms of some of the things that come out in the course of the plot, were just kind of awesome. Like the part where Spider-Man is in Times Square, and he goes to Times Square because he finds Venom is ranting on the jumbo, like Black Cat finds like Venom's on the jumbotron ranting with a message for Spider-Man. He's been there for hours. Also, Rhino's on a rampage at Omnitech. Like, what is this, the bad guy Olympics? I just always love I just really like that game, and I particularly like it because it takes the symbiote invasion storyline and it does it way better than Web of Shadows.
Yes, it does.
That game is terrible, and that's why it's not on my list. But I digress. Please continue.
Although it does also have a what if mode, which is fun.
It does. The what if mode is also do where Uchao's in the sky is like, this is a what if, and all kinds of shit's different.
Yeah, like
also
fiction is helmet.
Also great about that game was all the unlockable Spider-Man suits that gave you different powers. That was cool too.
I agree, and that was one of my complaints with the PS2 games when they first came out, of not enough suits.
Yeah, I agree.
But that takes us to my number 4, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think everybody else went.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was cutting you off by mistake.
No, I was good. I was turning over.
Good. Because I thought you had. Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm good.
Okay, my number 4, Power and Responsibility. Again, from the comics, different universe technically. Although ironically, this universe's Peter Parker is dead. It's from the Ultimate Spider-Man. It was the first Ultimate Spider-Man arc. Basically, long story short, Spider-Man gets his powers. He faces Green Goblin for the first time. However, they do stuff differently. They modernize Peter Parker in the best way he's been modernized. They basically really ground the characters and try and make it so realistic and stuff. And in the Ultimate Comics, it was Oscorp where he gets bitten by the spider as well, which carries over to Amazing Spider-Man. The new film, I mean, not the comics. But yeah, as well as that, you've also got the Green Goblin. This is Spider-Man's first fight, and sort of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon did, he doesn't win his first fight. He goes to fight Green Goblin, who's not a guy in a mask. It's a giant, hulked out monster. He basically beats the living shit out of Spider-Man. He just fucking pwns him all over the place, to the point where Spider-Man ends up basically running with his tail between his legs across this bridge where S.H.I.E.L.D. is, and it takes the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicopters and loads of people with guns and shit to shoot Green Goblin to try and keep him away from Spider-Man, and knocks him into the water, which Green Goblin comes back, but Spider-Man never beat him. And that's kind of cool. Spider-Man barely actually survived of his life, and it told the story in a great and new and interesting way.
It's a good story, but I always thought that mutant version of Green Goblin was kind of stupid.
I liked it. I liked it just because it was different to the 616, and I kind of liked the idea of Ultimate and 616 being different.
I don't know. Now the Peter Parker's dead. Period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although, at least in the Ultimate universe, it's a better replacement than what we've got.
Yes.
And but this was the Ultimate Comics at its finest. I'm going to say this is before it just turned to complete crap of stuff like MJ Goblin and stuff. But let's move on to number 3.
Wait, what?
MJ became a Goblin in, I want to say, around issue 100 during the essentially Ultimate Clone Saga.
Oh, good God.
She becomes like a Goblin wolf thing temporarily. It was done. Anyway, number 3, Marcus Shadow.
All right, for number 3, I went with the Michael Morbius story arc from the 90s cartoon. That was my second favorite story arc from the cartoon, the first, of course, being Venom. But I always thought Morbius was a completely underrated character because, well, I actually kind of like vampires, to be honest. Not of the sparkly variety.
How about ones with diaries?
Those are cool. But yeah, I always like Michael Morbius, and I think then that one also isn't that the one where they introduced Felicia Hardy as well?
Mm-hmm.
I think they introduced her just before that because that way it was more impactful when they introduced him.
Right, but this was like the first arc that kind of revolved around her, I think.
Yeah.
And they also introduced the character of Blade, which I love Blade. I think Blade is awesome. Again, I like vampires. Of course, this version of Blade kind of sucked. But that notwithstanding, the story arc itself was very good, and it was actually kind of deep for a kid's cartoon, to be honest. You know, kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like bringing the issue of, like, from the X-Men of, like, mutants and stuff, and bringing that up, and kind of, you know, Morbius is being persecuted, Blade is trying to hunt him, and Spider-Man's like, but Morbius hasn't done anything wrong. We can help him control what he's become. He's really not that much of a threat, kind of thing. And Blade's like, no, he's a vampire. I must kill him.
Ironically,
go ahead.
Sorry, you go.
I was just saying, I really liked it, and I just thought it was a great story.
I was saying, ironically, that almost made my list. But a different part of the same arc.
Oh.
Because that was one massive arc. Because Morbius in that transforms because he uses Peter Parker's blood, which is currently transforming. I loved the whole him transforming into Man Spider when Punisher goes hunting for him and he just fucking roars. I was like, fucking giant spider. Yes, I'm arachnophobic in real life. However, the giant spider was still cool. I own a giant spider toy.
Yeah, I did like that arc too because
I had that toy when I was a kid too. I don't have it anymore, but I did have it.
I have it still on its original stand because I got the big 12-inch one.
Oh, nice.
I like that because when Spider-Man realized he was, quote, a mutant, unquote, he went and sought out Professor Xavier and said, you got Wolverine cameo, and I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yep. And that basically, that arc, like you said, it introduced so many new people. Because if you count it all as one giant arc, he met X-Men for the first time-ish. He met Punisher. He met Blade. You got, like you said, a big arc involving Felicia Hardy. You got Morbius. Sadly, he drank blood through his hands, but I can accept that. You got like the vampire. You got Blade's mother being introduced. You got so much shit being introduced in one giant arc. It was awesome.
And then, of course,
as a result,
the arc closed up. The climax of the arc was Felicia Hardy becoming the Black Cat.
And also technically, Vulture, that was it. Vulture tries to then drain Peter Parker of his youth and accidentally takes the mutation and becomes a giant man spider that can fly. Oh my god, that's going to haunt me tonight.
It won't haunt you any worse than the prospect of what Spider-Man 4 would have been when Felicia Hardy was going to become the Vultress.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
And also, as a bonus from that storyline, we got a movie trilogy and Wesley Snipes gained a career.
About the third one's really just.
Yeah, well.
Although, fun fact for you, since James brought that up, Marcus,
Hmm.
Morbius was going to be in Blade 1.
Really?
At the end of the movie, Blade was going to look out the window, and on the rooftop, you were just going to see Morbius stood there with like his cape, little shattered coat cape thing blowing, and it was going to tie into basically Blade 2 was going to be all about Morbius. They cut that scene and went in a different direction, but that was still a cool concept.
Yeah.
And as we've seen from
afterwards.
yeah, and ironically, as we've all seen from the Marvel films nowadays, little teasers and cameos from future villains do work.
Oh, did they have anybody cast to play Morbius?
They did, because they apparently filmed the scene. I just can't remember who it was.
Okay, well,
But
whatever. We'll look it up later. Moving on.
Number 3, James Phoenix.
Okay. For my number 3, I went with the Amazing Spider-Man movie. Came out recently. Really enjoyed the movie. I thought that he was definitely Andrew Garfield was definitely a way better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire, and he played the storyline very well. The fact that they worked in the whole Uncle Ben thing without him saying "with great power comes great responsibility," which upset me a little bit, but I understand why they did it. Rhys Ifans as the Lizard was awesome. He needs to be in more movies. I love him. But just a great overarching the interaction between the two of them, the storyline, building up of Spider-Man, just a great plot where, and I always thought that it was interesting that in all the Spider-Man shit I had seen, there was never more play on the Lizard when in like everything, including the original trilogy, Kurt Connors is there the whole time. It's like, how do you not have the Lizard involved in any of these movies? So I'm glad somebody finally realized that and made that the movie. So I agree with that being the sort of origin of that. And just an awesome movie. Emma Stone is hot as hell. Sorry she has to die in the next movie. Spoiler alert. Yeah, great movie. Yeah, well, great movie. I loved it. And personally, what I want to happen it's making for someone's gonna die in the next Spider-Man movie. I want them to make a twist and just change that Spider-Man universe. I want it to look like when Stacy's gonna die, and then Mary Jane dies instead, and he stays with Gwen. That's what I want to see.
And I personally needed the line of great power, great responsibility, or some variation of. But I'll touch on that when I join Marcus Shadow when he eventually gets to sit down and reviews that. So take us away for number 3, El Hammer.
Okay.
Elric Toll.
So for my number 3, I picked when Spider-Man revealed his secret identity during the Civil War story arc. Now, I don't think the Civil War story arc itself was that good. It was really more that was a really, significant kind of crazy thing to have Spider-Man do, because one of his things was how hard he fought to keep his identity. And I thought it was, pretty major to just have him just be like, okay, hey, everyone, look, I'm Peter Parker. I just thought that was crazy. So that's why I had to put it on this list.
It was dumb, retarded, and went against the character. So, yeah, fuck you, Marvel.
It went against the character, but he was manipulated into doing so by Iron Man, who taught him that was the right thing to do. And we got a cool Jameson scene, which showed Jameson really does care about Peter, but at the same time was pissed when he found out he was Spider-Man. I like that. But yes, Civil War, yeah, it was awesome when it started off. And halfway through when they introduced Claw, or Clone 4, yeah. They have done that.
How do you clone a god?
Easily.
By the way, speaking of Jameson, as a little, I don't know if you guys know about this, but in the original Spider-Man movie, no, the second one, when Spider-Man tosses Cecily away and they do the Spider-Man No More story, they actually filmed a scene of J.K. Simmons in the spider suit.
Yep.
We know it's on the DVD and the deleted scenes.
Awesome. And they had to cut it because J.K. Simmons is more muscular than Tobey Maguire.
He's also more badass and more awesome.
It's inserted into Spider-Man 2.1.
Oh, is it?
Yes. And it wasn't just because he was too muscular, or it wasn't because he was more muscular than Tobey. It was because they had the idea of this elderly man doing this and it'd be hilarious, and he puts on and like, holy crap, he's ripped. The joke just went out the window. But it's still hilarious seeing him go in his office as he's doing it. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
But
for the benefit of J.K. Simmons, we are farmers. Dum 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 dum.
And my number 3, Craven's Last Hunt.
Ooh, good call.
Craven's Last Hunt. We get to see something we don't really see often in a story for comics and stuff. We see the bad guy win. Basically, Craven gets his final scheme to hunt down Spider-Man and kill him, and then just fucking shoots him dead. He buries Spider-Man. He then dons a copy of Spider-Man's costume, and just basically sets out to prove he's a superior Spider-Man. Oh, good God. I hate that, but yeah, he stops crimes and stuff like that.
Let's see Craven stop the new one.
Yeah, he goes around the city stopping crimes and stuff, and one of the people he saves turns out to be Mary Jane, being assaulted by a gang of criminals and stuff. And eventually, Spider-Man ends up digging. Fun fact, he also stops Vermin. Show of hands, who remembers Vermin?
Nope.
Okay,
Wasn't he April O'Neil's cameraman in Turtles?
disregarding that. No, Vermin was basically, he was an enemy that took both Spider-Man and Captain America to defeat, and this one just takes him out easily on his own. That's kind of cool. But then Spider-Man digs his way out of a grave, rises up to basically seize the mask, but get his mask back and take his identity back and beat Craven. But Spider-Man's mostly not the focus of this story. Craven is. And it's kind of cool seeing the villain win. That's interesting. You know what I mean? It just breaks up the normal, how do you say, like, cliched stories. This one was different, unique, and it just worked. So now, number 2, take us away, James Phoenix.
Thank you, Mo. My number 2 was mentioned earlier by Marcus Shadow, and that's
Number 2.
My number 2 is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions for the PS3. I might have mentioned or connected or put Edge of Time, but I had yet to play that game although I want to. But Shattered Dimensions is awesome. I loved multiple universe storylines, so I thought this game was awesome. I haven't finished the last like 2 or 3 levels yet, but everything I've played so far is awesome. Having all the Spider-Man voice actors came back, stroke of genius. I love it. And I love that the 90s Spider-Man voice is the noir guy, because my favorite Spider-Man voice is the 90s guy, and the noir has all the stealth thing, which is my kind of gameplay, so that worked out awesomely. And the whole storyline of Mysterio getting to be the bad guy, finally. How is Mysterio not a bad guy in one of these movies? God. And how is he not played by Bruce Campbell?
I hate to break this to you.
Yeah?
Edge of Time? Yeah. He's gone.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
The only 2 that remain, I believe, is 616 and 2099.
I believe I heard that, yeah. But anyway, having all those Spider voices there, pretty cool. I liked it. The storyline where you go to all these universes and see, like Marcus mentioned, all the other, the villains that were put in these universes that weren't normally there. Hammerhead, Noir, and all these different villains was pretty awesome. Scorpion 2099, not so much, but the rest were pretty awesome. I really enjoyed the plot line of the whole. It's a tablet, so you got to go to the other universes and work together. And you're trying to read out. It's a funny go. It's just a great storyline. I really liked it. They worked Madam Webbin. It's great. There's so many little in jokes for Spider-Man fans. Great game. Great plot. I have it. I love it. I will finish it. You should review it on the Gaming Zone Mall.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
But no, number two. Take us away, Marcus Shadow, because I believe me and you have the same one.
Thank you, Mole. My number 2, I believe, is the same as yours, and that is the Death of Gwen Stacy arc. Now, I haven't actually read it, but I've heard enough about it, and I've seen, I've read parts of it, and of course, with the new movie coming out where they're alluding to that, it's just, I've seen the ramifications of it, is what I have, and I've seen what it did for the character, and because of what it did for Spider-Man as a character, and how it's affected him and the universe around him, like his world, if you will, I have to give this the number 2 arc, because it's just a great arc, and it's really gutting me that she is not going to die at the hands of the Green Goblin in the next movie. She's going to die at the hands of Jamie Foxx, and I'm just like, no, that's not cool, dude. But anyway, Mo, I'll let you expand on the story arc.
Before I expand on the storyline, I will say she also died at the hands of another villain.
Oh.
In the Ultimate Universe, Carnage absorbs her.
Oh. Oh.
Fuck.
And then when he comes back later on, his face can transform into Gwen to constantly remind Spider-Man that it's her. And she even turns into her at one point and almost hits on him. Yeah. Okay, so the death of Gwen story.
In the Ultimate Universe?
Yeah, in the Ultimate Universe, Carnage, basically Gwen ends up being absorbed by Carnage when he's in Spider-Man's garden randomly, as you do. He absorbs her, and basically Spider-Man realizes, okay, he's now killed Gwen, and when he comes back, yeah, he can turn into her because she's now part of Carnage's DNA.
So he's the dude from Prototype. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the death of Gwen Stacy, awesome story, loved that one. Basically, villains nowadays, at least in my opinion, they tend to come up with the most stupidest, long-ass driven plots ever. Like Norman Osborn, who's in this one. I'm going to impersonate one of the heroes, and I'm going to pose as them, and then I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to make this hero doubt himself, and I'm going to be rising up as a good hero, and then I'm going to bring down the system from within, blah, 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 blah. Fuck it. This Green Goblin just says, nah, fuck that shit, you know what I'm going to do? And he just hovers behind Spider-Man enough distance away that Spider-Man doesn't notice him, and follows him home to find out who he is, and then kills his girlfriend. Simple, effective, and it worked. And the death is fucking awesome. She goes down, Spider-Man basically webs her leg, and as he pulls her up, she dies, and he realizes, okay, she died. We now need to, did I kill her or the Green Goblin? Blah, 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 blah. He then goes to track her down. We get the cool, goes to track down Green Goblin, I should say. He's like, I'm going to kill you for this Goblin. Tracks him down. We get the cool bit where the glider crashes into Goblin and kills him, similar to the movie. It pins Goblin to the wall. And then we get that quote that I just fucking love. And so the proud men die, not crucified on a cross of gold, but a stake of humble tin. It's awesome. That's an awesome quote.
Now that you mentioned that brings another point in terms of the movie series. How is it in every movie Spider-Man gets his or somebody's father figure killed?
Ask Floyd.
Yeah, really. He gets Uncle Ben killed. I mean, obviously that's supposed to happen. But, the first series, he gets Norman Osborn killed. And, technically he did that himself, but still. Second series, nope. There goes Captain Stacy. He's dead. I mean, how is it Spider-Man constantly gets father figures killed? I mean, it's like, what the hell?
And I can agree with that. But yes, like I said, awesome story, impactful, just genius, simply written, but yet emotional and effective.
And hopefully the movie doesn't bastardize it.
It probably will. Hollywood tends to do it with like every comic. But yeah, take us away, Richter.
I don't know about that. They did a pretty good job with Avengers.
My number 2 was the last episode of the 90s cartoon called Spider Wars. And basically it's, similar to, it sounds similar to Shattered Dimensions. I have not played that. Where to save the day, basically there's multiple universe Spider-Mans. And I like multiple universe storylines too, and, parallel dimension kind of stuff. And it was just kind of cool to see the different Spider-Mans. And my favorite one was, there was one that was with them and he didn't really do anything. And it's revealed that he's basically a guy that dresses up as Spider-Man, because in their universe or whatever, it's basically Spider-Man's just a character, and the guy's just portraying him. Like the guy dressing up as Jeffrey in front of Toys R Us's and stuff. And I just thought that was kind of neat that they included a character, like a version that's not actually him. It's just a guy portraying him. I just thought that was kind of a cool little thing to do. Very unique to me.
But that leads up to number 1, because that episode, which is entitled Spider Wars Part 1 and 2, the finale of the 90s series, was my number 1. I, too, as I mentioned earlier, love multiple universe storylines. And this always, out of all the stuff from the 90s series, the two things that always stuck with me out of that 90s series, aside from Spider-Man's voice actor in and of himself, was him fighting Alistair Smythe and his robots, and the Spider Wars episodes. And I just love this episode because we're seeing Madam Web. She's gathering all these Spider-Men. We're seeing all the different Spider-Men working together and stuff. And I just thought that was really awesome how they had to work together, and we're seeing the different things and everything. Didn't necessarily approve of Carnage being the penultimate villain, but still. Um, just a great, great arc. I personally loved how there was a Spider-Man that was basically Bruce Wayne, who was filthy rich and had a big spider robot and shit. That was awesome.
You mean the Japanese
Huh?
Spider-Man?
Is that who that was?
Not
Okay.
quite like that.
But basically, he had to like shit, and also like and he mentioned it, he's like, man, if only I had my giant Spider Mech, then we could take that easily. He's like, giant Spider Mech? Yeah, in my universe, I'm a billionaire, aren't you? That was great. But yeah, I love that story. I guess it's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories, the whole multi-universe thing. And now that we've talked about it in this review, I do need to go on the internet and find those episodes and rewatch them.
You do.
I do.
Although it may also be worth mentioning, because you mentioned that arc and that story, that also ends the cartoon, and we get told, Spider-Man, I will now take you to see Mary Jane, which we've been waiting for. It's been building, and he never gets to see her.
Well, in all fairness, that's probably unfortunately the fate of many TV shows, where they leave it on a cliffhanger to continue the story, and then they get canceled between seasons and never finish it.
Yep, that's why I feel sorry for whichever poor bastard has to review TV shows on our Xpound. I mean, that's got to be the most horrible and boring and blandest job ever, because you never know if your show's going to be cancelled.
Oh,
Who is that poor sap?
I don't know, but I don't think he has a problem being canceled, considering he runs the damn network.
You could still get cancelled.
How could? Whatever. Anyway, turning over to somebody else for number one.
Mutiny!
Bastards.
That's number two. Take us away. That was James's. Take us away.
That was my number one. We're on the number one for.
That was James's number one. Take us away, El Hammer.
All right, my number one loosely involves Spider-Man, but it was Venom Lethal Protector. And when I first saw these comics, I was totally stoked to read them because I like Venom. He's my favorite part of the Spider-Man universe, and it was cool to actually have a comic series where he was technically a hero, but it was just kind of cool. So I really liked reading that.
If you like that, you should totally check out Tooth and Claw.
Okay.
It's kind of a spin-off of that where he teams up with Wolverine.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, only good things can come from that. But now the number one.
That leads us to my number one. My animals are very similar, actually similar to Richter's, because it's actually a story arc that leads into Venom Lethal Protector. And like Richter, I believe the Mole and I, our favorite Spider-Man villain is in fact Venom. Is that correct?
Only the Eddie Brock version.
Only the Eddie Brock version.
There is no other version.
There is no Venom. There is only Brock.
There is only Zool.
But yes, but my favorite arc has to be the quote end unquote of the Venom arc right before he becomes Lethal Protector. Primarily because I haven't read the rest of it, but I just loved how Venom, they give him depth of character, and they show that while he's vicious and manipulative and stuff, at his core, he's still Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock, all he wants to do is protect the people he cares about. And he views Spider-Man as someone who doesn't protect people. And through the story arc, he figures out because his wife or ex-wife gets in danger, and Spider-Man goes to save her and stuff, and he's like, wait, he's trying to save my wife. Oh my God, Spider-Man and I are the same. We're just trying to protect people. How could I have been so stupid? And it's because the symbiote blinded Brock to it, because the symbiote was pissed that Spider-Man didn't want to bond with him. And it's a great story for Venom. It's a good story for Spider-Man too, where he realizes some things about himself and about Venom. He realizes the fact that Venom isn't really evil. That Venom, all he wants to do is protect people. That's why he goes after Brock's ex-wife, because he realizes he needs someone who can break through the symbiote and get to Eddie himself to get him to realize who and what he is. And it's in my opinion, that arc is essentially Spider-Man. That represents Spider-Man just in a nutshell. But take it away, Mo.
My number one, ironically, it turns out ours isn't the same. Mine wasn't that bit with Venom. Mine was the bit right before that one.
We're going backwards.
Yeah, we're going backwards.
Rewind.
Mine was the black suit and the creation of Venom. Because he gets the suit in Secret Wars. It bonds to him and stuff like that. He learns from the Fantastic Four, which gives us Bagman. That the suit is evil. He then, as we saw, it leaks into other arcs and stuff like that, and it goes on. Then eventually, Spider-Man, he finds out, okay, this suit's evil. It's corrupting me. He crashes through a church. Basically, it rings the bell. The ooze goes out. At the same time, underneath, Eddie Brock's there, praying to God to basically kill him. Not kill Peter Parker like Spider-Man 3. Eddie Brock's praying that he dies. This is a man that's given up on everything because he feels that Spider-Man's taken everything from him, and he just wants to die. And the suit basically is like a sign from God coming down, bonding with him, and giving him Venom. But we don't realize this until later on when he gets revealed who he is. Instead, what we get is Venom just basically trolling Spider-Man. We get shit like Spider-Man standing in front of a subway. We see a black hand just push him in front of the train because it doesn't activate his spider sense. And Peter Parker's like in front of the train. He's like, oh shit, it's the train's coming towards him. And he just keeps doing random crap like that. Although, fun fact, one of those hands was a female because at this point they didn't know who Venom was going to be, and it was a female Venom hand. Fun fact for you kids. But yeah, I just loved that, and I just loved the whole, basically the origin of Venom and Venom becoming Venom. Like I wrote down here from the comic, I love the line that, in my opinion, summonizes or sums up, I should say, Venom perfectly. Of, you may call me Venom, for that's what I'm paid to spew out these days. I'm your victim, Spider-Man. I'm the innocent you ruined. And I'm like, that's awesome. This is that whole thing that we learn about throughout Spider-Man, great power, great responsibility. Spider-Man hasn't quite done responsibility stuff by Eddie Brock, and it turns him into one of, if not his greatest, well, not his greatest, but it turns him into one of his greatest villains of all time. My favorite villain, but not his greatest. That's obviously Goblin. But still, that's still awesome. We get to see the origin of Venom, and we get to see how Spider-Man basically did that himself.
Yes, he did.
Nicely done.
Yes, but that wraps it up.
Can I just ask a question? Well, did they have an idea of which female character might have been Venom if they went in that direction?
No, they've just been drawing it as if basically, okay, this is what Venom may look like. This is what it may look like. So, like one week it was a male hand. Next week it was a female. Then it was like another male but slightly different shape. They didn't really know where they wanted to go with this until they had the idea.
Okay.
So think of it like a WWE storyline, basically.
Oh.
They don't really know until the last second. However, the last second with this one didn't turn out to be Hornswoggle with a tiny laptop. It turned out to be good.
Yeah, pretty much. Or here's a woman's legs getting out of the limo. She must be the host of WrestleMania. If it's a man with the Rock. Wait, what?
Yeah. Which that basically ends it. Thank you for joining us. That was mainly to all of you.
No. You're welcome, Mo. Not a problem.
You're welcome.
Yep. So as always, this was the Comic Zone. I was your host, Chriz, aka The Mole, joined by James Phoenix, Marcus Shadow, and Rick the Hammer. See ya.